looking at the UNISA Theory of Music Grade 4 May 2023 past paper. Question 1 has everything to do with time signatures, note values, and grouping. So let's dive right in. I'm looking at question 1.1. It says, fill in the missing time signatures and indicate whether each of the given music examples is either in simple or compound time, as well as specify, please, whether it is duple, triple, or quadruple time. Now, some people freak out when they see this, but just looking back at the syllabus document of UNISA, under the grade 4 stipulations, you'll see that the document is still valid. It was last updated in January 2019. Everything still stands. We are only asked to know 7 time signatures at this very level of grade 4. Now, we are already at an advanced level of music, so only knowing 7 time signatures is not a lot. So we have to know 4 simple time signatures, being 2/4, 3/4, 3/8, as well as 4/4. And then we have to know 3 compound time signatures, 6/8, 9/8, as well as 12/8. So it doesn't get more complicated than that at this level. So we only have those from which to choose. So let's see what we have here. In 1.1.1, they give us a nice presto example. I can already see in each of the bars, there are only 3 quaver beats, and that means we are in 3/8, and that is simple triple time. Don't get confused with the little 8 at the bottom. It doesn't mean it is compound time. Remember, compound time signatures have dotted beats. Simple time signatures have not dotted beats, so simple beats. So we have 3 normal quaver beats in a bar, means it's a simple time signature. We have 3 beats, simple, triple. 1.1.2, they give us a nice flamenco style something. By the way, the things are already grouped. I can see they are grouped in something of 3s, and I can already see that, oh wow, that definitely has to be compound time. Now I can see that we have 3 subdivision groups of 3 quavers each, which means I'm in 9/8, because in 9/8 time we have 3 dotted crotchet beats in a bar. And speaking of subdivisions, we can subdivide those into 3 quavers, 3 quavers, 3 quavers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, according to subdivisions. And of course, when we think in terms of dotted beats and we also go down to the subdivision layer, we are in compound time. So this is compound triple time here. Then our last example, 1.1.3, they give us a nice allegro. Lots of dotted things around there just to confuse us most likely. But I hope you don't get confused by looking at this. You can just see plain and simple, there are 4 crotchet beats in each of these bars. So definitely you can go ahead and put down 4/4. I'm guessing you are also allowed to put down the C for common time. But I would just go ahead and put down the numbers 4/4. And this is definitely simple quadruple time here. In question 1.2, we are given some grouping exercises. So indeed, they do give us a treble clef for some weird reason. I've omitted the clef here because this is not about pitches, it's about rhythm. So bye-bye clef. But I have put down the 4/4, the 3/8, and the 6/8 exercise here. So yet again, we could get 3 of 7 various time signatures, and then we have to know how to group accordingly. So the question states, group the notes and rests in the given bars correctly according to the time signatures. Okay, very clear. We know what to do. They do give us bars in which to write. So the one thing about grade 4 level now is that we are definitely a step up from grade 3, definitely, in all ways. And definitely in the rhythmic principles as well, because we are going to be given group notes, various types of tuplets. So we have duplets, triplets, quadruplets, quintuplets, or quintuplets, as some people might say. So let that not throw us off, but we definitely have to expect them. So in our very first example, we do see a quintuplet or quintuplet, however you would like to pronounce it, but they are 5 notes in the time of 4 when it comes to simple time. So this might just throw you off because it looks a bit ugly, but imagine we were trying to group this without that little tuplet sign. We would just go ahead and first figure out what nonsense is going on here and why they're tying together notes like this. So just by looking at that, I can see this is a quaver. There's a quaver on its own, another quaver, another quaver, and another quaver. So actually there are 5 quavers. Yay. And we do expect there to be 5 somethings when we have the quintuplet sign there. So without the sign, I can just go ahead and put down my 5 quavers. They really wrote it down very ugly for me, but that's the whole point of grouping. turning something ugly into something that I would like to sight read. So now we just add the tuplet sign, and this is a quintuplet, so we have to have our bracket with a little 5, and this very well means 5 quavers in the time of 4 quavers. That would give us half of the bar anyway. The other half of the bar lies in the rest, and that is correct. I don't have to do anything with that. And then there we go, that's our bar. So it's actually less scary than you may think. Then we move on to 3/8. Now this one is a very ugly one, and I do think UNISA would have had to issue a note during the exam or maybe after the fact that there's a bit something iffy going on here. And if I am wrong, please tell me so. But this one isn't nice at all. When we see 3/8, we definitely do want to see 3 simple quaver beats in a bar. Yay! So already we can see here's a quaver, that's great. The other quavers sort of lie in between here. So we see a tuplet here, this is a duplet specifically. So it means that we have 2 notes in the time of 3. So actually what we're going to be seeing here, theoretically and on paper, would be 3 semiquavers. Okay, so then we would have our 1 beat, our other beat, great. But now how do we rewrite this? Because if this is so tied with each other, it's only going to make a single quaver like that, and we still need to add the duplet, and you can't have a duplet with 1 note. So I'm thinking the mistake just lies with pitches. So maybe this is perhaps not a tie but a slur. I definitely would have been confused in this exam, and I'm just going to do it the way I think it should be done. And if you have a different answer, or perhaps if you have seen a note from UNISA, let me know. So I haven't ordered the memo paper from UNISA. I am merely working from the question paper because I like to work through all these things myself and also give my students and you people watching the answers that I can come up with. You know, so I'm not working from a memo, I'm working from my own mind. But this one's really ugly, so I'm going to write down what I have figured out according to this one. But I definitely do think there has been a mistake in the paper, and perhaps just maybe making this note or one of these notes a different so-called pitch, or even though we're not in a clef, it would work out better, because you can't, you know, group a single note as a duplet, because where does the note go to? And there's no other rest for us to put in, so that really doesn't make sense. So this is how I have grouped it. I have over there my quaver. Of course, we can't do anything with the rest, and I'm just going to put a note on a line and a note on a space just to differentiate. But there are 2 different notes. Instead of being tied, I am now slurring them and making that a duplet. So, my eraser on the floor. Here we go. I'm just going to erase those beats. But this works out well. We have 2 semiquavers in the time of 3. So together these will make up the first 2 beats of the bar. This will make up the last beat. And there we go. We have our 3 quavers in the bar. Then we move over to 6/8. Now, of course, when you see a lot of rests, some people freak out, but some people say thank you because it's actually easier than you think. So I'm one of those who say thank you. So we, of course, can't do anything with this. We have to put it down there. Now, of course, we know our 6/8 time has everything to do with 2 dotted crotchet beats in a bar. And we know that we can subdivide these beats to get our subdivisions, our 3 equal subdivisions of quavers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 basically. So I need to see a beat 1 and I need to see a beat 2. Now already all these rests tell me that I'm going to have a full-on rest in beat 2. Now, of course, I just need to fill up the rest of beat 1. So I'm going to fill up like that. That gives me 1 subdivision. I need 2 more. So I'm going to have a quaver and a quaver. I cannot make these 2 quavers a crotchet, because if I'm going to put subdivisions 2 and 3 together, that would be wrong. Remember, we don't group beats 2 and 3 together in simple time. And of course, same applies to compound time. But even deeper, in compound time, we cannot group subdivisions 2 and 3 together. So there we have it. We see our beat 1, our beat 2 in 6/8 time. And these are our exercises for grouping. So yes, they are trickier than we've ever had before. And we have also seen in this paper somewhat of an ugly exercise, but we do the best with it that we can. And if you get this question correctly, for all your hard work, you will only get 6 marks. Okay, on to the next question. Question 2 has everything to do with scale writing. So here we are again, just like grade 3, we're writing rhythmic scales. We have to pay attention to whether they're asking us to write with key signature or without key signature. And we do get 6 marks per scale. We have 3 scales, so 18% wrapped up in question 2 alone. So all we have to do is be very systematic. Okay, so 2.1, they do tell us to write E flat melodic minor ascending. So pay attention to that. You have to know your key for E flat minor. You have to understand that you're writing a melodic minor scale and you are writing it ascending. So they do tell us in this whole question to write without key signatures, which says we have to put in all the little accidentals, all the little sharps or flats in front of the notes. So we're going to have a good time doing that. First things first, like we said, 2.1, we are looking at E flat melodic minor. Now we know that E flat minor is related to G flat major, and these things should just be off the tip of our tongues now. They should just be rolling out. We have to know all of this naturally. If they ask us, what is the key signature of E flat major? We have to know 3 flats. Okay, what is the key signature of E flat minor? Okay, 6 flats, because I know it's related to G flat major, which has 6 flats. So all of this has to come out. So if you don't know that, we can't really help you at this stage. You need to first get that knowledge in the brain, because all of that has to be applied to what we're doing here. And this we can definitely help you with, but all the other foundations have to already be in place by now. So E flat melodic minor, we're going to definitely start with our time signature. So they do give us a 4/4, and it's not for nothing. Yes, they give us a bass clef in the space where we need to write, but then we have to take responsibility to write down our time signature, as well as all the 8 notes that they give us in the specific rhythms. So we're going to start with our 4/4 time signature. We're going to start on an E flat, whether a low one or a mid one. We're going to go up our 8 notes in the rhythm that they give us. After that, we know we're definitely going to raise our 6th and 7th degrees, because in a melodic minor ascending, we have to raise 6 and 7. So we are going to take our C flat and raise it, as well as our D flat and raise it. So they will both be natural. However, we don't have a key signature here, so there was nothing to naturalize, so we just leave them as normal notes. We don't go ahead and flatten them. And if you have already put in the flat signs, go and erase them, okay? Because if we had a key signature, we would have had our 6 flats, and then we would have had to write the natural signs next to the notes. But now we don't have a key signature, we're writing flats right in front of the notes. So if you have put in a C flat and D flat according to what you know about the 6 flats, go ahead and erase it now. Otherwise, just don't add those flats in the first place. Then we're going to add our semitones. That is our final step. And in a melodic minor ascending, our semitones lie between degrees 2 and 3 and 7 and 8. Then we move on to 2.2, A flat major descending. So here we are in the alto clef. Fun! So if you are a viola player, you're saying, thank you, finally they're using my clef. But if you're like most of us, most of the world, you usually play in treble or bass clef, or maybe both at the same time if you're a piano player, but alto clef is a bit tricky. So we are going to be busy counting lines and spaces and everything. We know that middle C is on that middle line, so we orientate ourselves from there. First things first, we go ahead and copy paste our 6/8 time signature into our answer. Then we're going to start on a nice A flat. So we're going to go from a high A flat, because we are descending, and then we are going to go down an octave. So we put in our 8 notes according to the respective rhythms that they give us. And then we're going to go ahead and put in our flats. Now, of course, A flat major has 4 flats. And of course, if you're starting on an A flat, you need to end on an A flat. Don't start on an A flat and end on an A. Remember, this is A flat major. Both A's need to be flats. Okay, and then finally, our semitones. In a major key, our semitones lie between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Lastly, we have question 2.3, G sharp harmonic minor descending. G sharp harmonic minor sounds like an ugly key, but it's not. It's one of those 3 keys that have our double sharps in it. So in Afrikaans, we have this word dag, D-A-G. So D sharp, A sharp, and G sharp minor all have our double sharps on the 7th degree. So G sharp minor is one of those. So we will see an F double sharp popping up. G sharp minor, we relax into it. We just understand the major key to which it is related, which is B major. So we have 5 sharps here: F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, E sharp, A sharp. We go ahead and put in our 3/4 time signature. We start on a nice high G sharp because we are descending. We start, we put down our 8 notes in the respective rhythm that they give us. Then we go ahead and raise that 7th degree. So we are in a harmonic minor now. So ascending or descending, we just go ahead and raise the 7th. So the 7th here is already an F sharp. So it becomes a double sharp, as I said. So double sharp, little X. We don't have to try and be a calligraphy writer here because, yeah, the way they print a double sharp will definitely look different to the way we write a double sharp. And I mean, I'm pretty sure you've noticed they really are fancy when they print a treble clef and a bass clef, but when we draw it, yes, it looks pretty, but it's not the same as when someone types it out and prints it, you know, from a digital something. So same thing here. I don't think you're doing something wrong when you just write an X, or don't go ahead and just think, yeah, no, I need to color in this X because the double sharp printed looks like this. No, it's just an X. So double sharp it, it's done. Now remember, we're in G sharp minor, so the top G sharp, the bottom G sharp, they both need to be G sharps. Put in those sharps. And then our semitones in a harmonic minor lie between 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 and 8. Question 3.1 says, harmonize the following chords in 4 parts and then write the key in the given block below the staff. So I love these questions. We are finally writing in 4 parts, in inversions, on any degree of the scale, and that is very lovely. Now, of course, by the time we get to this, we have to know how all our chords are figured in a major key as well as a minor key. So I have explained, revised this in my previous grade 3 UNISA Theory of Music video for the October 2023 paper. So please do go ahead and check out that section of that video. But like I said in there, we are not European, we are South African. We actually figure chords properly so that we can know whether it is a major chord, a minor chord, a diminished chord, or an augmented chord. And just by identifying these properly written chords, we will be able to know and understand if we are working in a major or a minor key. So for instance, let's start off. If we are just given a symbol like this, submediant in first inversion, okay, let's just see how that submediant is figured. It is figured as a minor chord. So in what type of key is the submediant a minor chord? Is it a minor chord in major keys or minor keys? And the answer would be major keys, because on the 6th degree of your major scale, you'll find a minor chord. The submediant is major in minor keys. Okay, so if we know that, we're already off to a good footing, because then we will know that we are in E major already. So we're going to go ahead and put in a big E in the block. We don't even have to think, oh, could this be C sharp minor? No, because we would not ever figure a C sharp minor submediant chord in that way. Now that we know we're in E major, we need to understand the chord notes of the submediant triad. So if we're thinking E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp. So we are building a chord on C sharp, and please think of it as C sharp, it's not C. Okay, so we have C sharp, E, G sharp, and it's just a habit of mine. If I have a minor chord, I figure in small letters, but you don't have to do that. It's okay, capital or small baby letters will do. So what we do know about the submediant in first inversion is that we're going to go ahead and double the third. Okay, because we're writing down 4-part chord, so we have to change a 3-note triad into a 4-note chord. So we have to double something, and we're definitely going to double that middle note, which is the E. Now, what they have already given us on paper is that E. So we have an E, we need another E. Basically, we know that we have to put the third in the bass, so there's no other place that the E can go. So our bass note is actually the note that is doubled in this case. And that is something that happens in most cases. You will see the bass note is doubled. Be careful, bass note means the note that goes in the bass. It doesn't mean your root note. Your root note here is C sharp, but your bass note is actually E because we are in first inversion. And the E is doubled, it's the third note. That's why numbers and music, oh, you have to have a big brain for this stuff. So we have our E's. Now we just need a C sharp and a G sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and put the C sharp over there and the G sharp over there. And there we have it. Then we move on to our next key. Now, of course, if we look at the leading note chord, it would be diminished in a major or minor key. So we would just have to go and figure out, okay, this could be in E flat major, this could be in C minor. The note that they give us is a D. So I'm just going to start with the E flat major. So if I'm going, D is actually on the 7th degree of E flat major. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay, yeah, we're in E flat major. Then I'm going to write down my chord notes. So what do we have? We have D, F, and A flat. Now, what do we know about special chords? Special chords being our augmented and diminished chords. Now, of course, we have a diminished chord like this in minor keys. We also have an augmented chord like this in minor keys. And then we have a diminished chord like this, which is on the leading note. We have them in both major and minor keys. And usually these special chords are in first inversion if we're thinking about proper harmony, you know, where we're not trying to break the rules or trying to make things spicy, where we're just trying to think of them as proper, you know, just normal rules. They will be in first inversion, and then we will always double their third. That's just how it goes according to voice leading. So no different here. We're definitely going to double the third, and yet again that third is going to be in the bass because, of course, first inversion, we need the third in the bass, we need the F there, so I'm going to go ahead and put the F there. Now I have a D and an F, I need another F, and I need an A flat. So I'm going to go ahead and put my F over there, my A flat over there. Nothing is clashing, that's all good. So it's just about me knowing my doubling, and also about getting my chord notes correct. Because if I said something else, I don't know, D, F, B flat, that's obviously wrong. You have to know chords by now, you have to know how to figure these things, how to write it, how to recognize it. So it's all internalized there. Next, we have a key with 2 flats, so we're either in B flat major or G minor. Now, of course, we have a chord on the supertonic that's figured as a minor. Now, the supertonic is figured as a minor in major keys. The supertonic is figured as diminished in minor keys. So we're definitely in the major form here. We're in B flat major. I see they like asking us majors so far. So the note that they give us is a C. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. That's their given note. We have to fill in the rest. And the notes that they do give us, they do guide us a little bit, which is lovely. I am thankful for that, and I know you will be thankful for that as well. So if we're thinking about the chord on the supertonic of B flat major, we are thinking about a chord built on C, and we are C, E flat, G, right? And when it does come to the supertonic chord, when it's figured like this, as a minor, in a major key, we can double anything, so to speak, and we have chords in isolation here, so we do have free will, free reign, but when it does come to this in actual 4-part progressions, when you get to grade 5 level, we have to start thinking about, okay, what is the best? How does my chord follow the previous chord? How is it going to lead to the next chord? And what is my best doubling solution here? And when it does come to this chord, I would say go ahead and double your root. Okay, it's not one of those special chords. It's not diminished or augmented or whatnot. Yes, it's in first inversion, but don't think you must now double the third of every first inversion chord ever. Okay, you can go ahead and double the root, and I'm just going to go double the root here. Okay, so they say we're in first inversion, so of course our E flat needs to be in the bass. We have an E flat, we have a C, and now I just need to fill in another C as well as a G. So I'm going to go ahead and put my G there, my C over there, and what I do like to do is push the tenor as high as possible, as you see, because what I don't want to do is have my G here and then my C here. I mean, fine, but altos, do they really want to sing there? No. And also I don't want to displace it too much by going over there, because then I have more than an octave gap between my alto and tenor, and I want to avoid that. And the way that I want to avoid that without too much drama is by pushing the tenors as, you know, high, so to speak, as possible. Tenors also love singing in that range, so fits everything. Okay, so that's great. Our last question has to do with a second inversion chord. Yay! And this is beautiful because we're building up to beautiful things when it comes to second inversion. Unfortunately, not in this grade yet, but we are working our way towards that very fast. So if we look over here, we can either be in A flat major or F minor, but the note that they give us is a C. Okay, and of course, we just have to figure out which dominant chord the C fits with. So does it fit with A flat major or does it fit with F minor? So it doesn't fit with A flat major, but if you think of F minor, our F minor dominant chord happens to be C, E. It is a raised E because that is the seventh. C, E, G. It is a major chord and C happens to be part of C, E, G, right? So C, E, G, that's a natural, I'm just putting it there. We know that for any second inversion chord, we have to double the fifth. Okay, that's just how it is. That is the same as saying double the bass because your bass note will be your fifth. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my baby F over there. I have to put a G in the bass. So I'm going to go ahead and put my G over there. They give us a C, and now I just need another G, and I think I'm going to displace it by an octave. And then we have an E natural. Remember, your seventh needs to be raised in a minor key, and the seventh happens to lie on the third note of your dominant chord. So there we go, there we have it. So all of this will award you 8 marks because you will get a mark for your key, the correct key, and your correct spelling thereof. So if it's a capital or baby letter, and then your whole chord will also award you 1 mark. So you better get that chord right so that you can get that 1 mark. But there we have it. This is question 3.1. Question 3.2 does have a bulk of marks wrapped up within itself. So we have 21% wrapped up in this very sub-question alone. So you have to know cadences are very important. So they do tell us harmonize the following cadences in 4 parts. Figure each chord and then write the key in the given blocks below the staff. So here we go. What we have to figure out is, okay, are we in a major or minor key? Okay, how do I figure the respective cadence that they give us? So first things first, they would like us to figure a plagal cadence. So we have to know what that means off the bat. Then we have an interrupted cadence or a deceptive cadence. Then we have to know off the bat what that means. Lastly, they ask of us a perfect cadence. Okay, so whether these are in major keys or minor keys, we already have to know that a plagal cadence means subdominant to tonic. An interrupted cadence is the dominant to submediant. And then the perfect cadence, everyone's favorite I think, dominant to tonic. And like I said, this can be in a major or a minor key, and we need to be able to figure them, understand them, and write them out in both. So first things first, they ask of us a plagal cadence in a key with 3 flats. So of course, we have our options. So if you're in a major key, it's going to go from major subdominant to major tonic. If you're in a minor key, it would go from minor subdominant to minor tonic, because this is how we figure chords in major and minor keys respectively. So let's start with a major. If we are in a major key, we're in E flat major. If we're thinking about, firstly the tonic, I guess that's easy to think about. In E flat major, E flat, G, B flat. Yes, it contains an E flat. And if I go to the subdominant of E flat, A flat, C, E flat, that would be the chord. Does it contain an E flat? Actually, yes it does. So this is it. We're going to go ahead and figure our E flat major key. And then we already know how to figure our chords because we're in a major key. Yay! So now we need our chord notes. So I said already we have A flat, C, E flat, and then we have E flat, G, B flat. Knowing that we are going from subdominant to tonic. Don't swap it around. A cadence is not going from tonic to subdominant. There is no such cadence that exists in music. Yes, there can be a chord progression like that, but we're dealing with cadences. And the correct figuring of plagal is subdominant to tonic, or 4-1, as most people say. But I like to use the technical words and terms because we already have so many numbers in music. Let's not confuse ourselves by speaking about chords now also as numbers. Ooh, we'll make ourselves go crazy if we do that. Now, the rule for plagal cadence is you're going to double the root in both chords. So we're going to double the root of the subdominant, the root of the tonic. Of course, these chords are just in root position, so my A flat definitely does need to go in the bass here, and my E flat needs to go in the bass there. So I have that sorted. Okay, so now in this chord, all I need to add is the A flat and a C. So I'm going to go ahead and put my A flat over there, my C over there. Like I said, I like to have that tenor voicing nice and high. So that's cool. Then once I've figured my full first chord of the cadence, which is my subdominant in this case, I'm going to go ahead and have my note in common stay common. So E flat, they will stay. And this already is something that they've given us, so I can't do anything about that. But I already know that I'm on the right track because that is true. They've confirmed it for me. Then the other voices are going to move stepwise. And in this case, they're going to move stepwise down. So if I have a space note, in layman's terms, I'm going to go to a line note down. If I'm on a line note, I'm going to go to a space note down. So I have a G and a B flat left. If I just go down one, there we go. That's going to be true and right. And I don't even have to check for parallels. I'm not going to have parallel octaves or parallel fifths. That is going to be a correctly figured cadence, and I don't have to pull out my hair. It's going to be correct, and I will get my 7 marks in this question alone. Now, if I just went and willy-nilly put down a, I don't know, a B flat and a G, just because, there would be problems. So I don't have any problems with the octaves because A flat and A flat are over there, and E flat and E flat are over here. So between alto and bass and then soprano and bass, so I don't have a problem when it comes to octaves. But when it comes to fifths, let's see, I have an A and an E flat, and then I have an A and an E flat, and then here I have an E flat and a B flat, and then also I have a nice hidden parallel fifth there, and that's not going to work out well because there are fifths and that is not what we want. So we want the previous way, okay? So there's no reason we have to struggle like this and check for parallels and check for fifths. If we know our rules, we can, struggle with parallels in the next grade. So let's not do it right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this whole chord because I made it a bit ugly. But we're going to have our A flat, our C, our A flat, and the note that they gave us, E flat, and we are going to resolve our chords like this. So to summarize voice leading here, your bass note will just be your root notes of your chords, of course. Your note in common will stay the same. The other two voices will lead down stepwise, and there you have your plagal cadence. Then we move on to the next one, an interrupted cadence. So it can either be, according to the key signature, in E major or C sharp minor. So the notes that they give us happen to be G sharp and A. Now we know that an interrupted cadence needs to be dominant to submediate, figured like this in a major key, or dominant to submediant, figured like this in a minor key. So this root note, of course, has to be the dominant. So in E major, is G sharp the dominant? No. So I can already take that away. In C sharp minor, is G sharp the dominant? Yes. So of course we are now in C sharp minor. I'm going to put baby C sharp there, and I'm going to figure my chords accordingly. So major chord for dominant, major chord for submediant, because of course the submediant in a minor key is a major chord. So now let's get our chord notes. So we're going to have G sharp, B sharp, because that is the 7th. Then we're going to have D sharp, lots of sharps here. Then we're going to go to A, C sharp, E. The rule for this cadence is that you're going to double the root in the dominant, then you're doubling the third in the submediant, and then this third note of this chord goes to this third note of this chord. So all I need to know now is, my B sharp, wherever it may lie, our leading note will go to the tonic. My B sharp will go to C sharp. Okay, so they already gave me a G sharp. I have free will now where to put my soprano, alto, and tenor voices. So I'm going to push my tenor nice and high. I like to do that. So there's my D sharp. I'm going to put my G sharp over there, and then my B sharp over here. And remember to raise it. It is a sharp. Then I know that now. B sharp needs to go to C sharp. That is a rule. Then the other two voices, it's a bit different. Other cadences such as plagal, perfect, even imperfect, we have a note in common. So that will stay the same. Then the other two voices will move stepwise. Whether it's up or down, it'll just move stepwise. But when the interrupted cadence comes, that is so not the rule. We have our middle note going to our middle note there. Then we don't have a note in common, obviously, as you can see. The two remaining voices will both move down. One of them will move stepwise down, the other one will move down by a third. So let's check that out. We have a C sharp and an E to fill in. So if I put it in like that, that is very true because the D sharp goes to C sharp, moves stepwise down, and then the G sharp goes to E, that moves down a third. And I don't even have to check the parallels, this is going to be correct. Most important that you know your rules for an interrupted cadence, because I promise you they will ask you an interrupted cadence. Because when 7% is on the line, why not ask you a nice tricky cadence? So voice leading purposes, we have our bass notes, being our bass notes, we have to double the root in our dominant chord, we have to double the third in the submedian chord. The third of this chord goes to the third of this chord. The remaining two voices will lead down, one stepwise, one by a third. Then we move on to our final cadence. It's a perfect cadence. Now there is a presence of a sharp, something raised already. So I know that this has to be F sharp minor. It cannot be A major. It just has to be this. So we have dominant and goes to tonic. And remember, baby form of tonic, we are in a minor key. So yes, dominant is always major. But we have to go ahead and figure out tonic chord, like a minor tonic chord. So all of these things have to come into play. So now we can see what I was talking about when I was speaking in all the previous grades about being systematic. It finally comes out here. So if you were being systematic before, it will show here. But if you weren't being systematic, I don't even think you would be able to make it to this part because this is quite tricky. And surprise, surprise, these are still the foundations of harmony. So it only gets more tricky from here. But if you've made it this far, well done. Please keep at it. We need more good music people out there. So be systematic, be very technical about it. It's going to serve you well in your theoretical knowledge of music, but also in your practical application thereof. So here we go. Let's figure out perfect cadence. We are in F sharp minor. So our dominant chord will be C sharp, E sharp, G sharp. Our tonic chord will merely be F sharp, A, C sharp. Now rule, like with the others, plagal, imperfect, perfect, the normal ones, so to speak, the non-interrupted, deceptive ones. We have to double the root in both chords. So I'm going to double C sharp there, F sharp here. I've put these in capital letters, this in small letters, just because this is a major chord, this is a minor chord. But again, you don't have to do that. These little pencil rough markings that I've done in Koki, you can go ahead and erase afterwards. It doesn't need to be on your paper. It's good for rough work. You can even do it at the back of your UNISA paper, where UNISA does give you some rough paper and you just scratch it out afterwards. But I like to do this where I am working and then I would erase it afterwards. So they give us an E sharp and they do give us an F sharp over there. We do know that our root note has to go in the bass. So I need a C sharp over there. Great. And I do need an F sharp over here. Perfect. Pun. So we have a C sharp and we have an E sharp. Now I just need to go ahead and put in G sharp, another C sharp. So what's going to happen? My remaining two notes here have to either have a note in common or move stepwise. So we know that there needs to be one note in common, two voices move stepwise. I already have a stepwise movement over there. So I know I'm going to have a note in common, and of course C sharp is common here. And then my other note is an A, just moves up. So in a perfect cadence, from one chord to another, the remaining two non-root, non-common notes will lead up stepwise. That's your voice leading. So let's recap. We have our root notes in the bass, we have our note in common, and then we have stepwise movement, one up for the remaining two voices. That is your perfect cadence. The nitty-gritties of remembering your raised seventh and stuff like that, that's a little bit extra in your keys and in these exercises. But the gist remains the gist. You just have to apply this knowledge to all of your cadences. Cadences are very important. So make sure that you be very systematic here to get your 21%. In question 4.1, we have to figure the indicated chords in the music example that they give us. So a little bit of a comprehension here. We're used to seeing comprehensions from the previous grades already. This is just a comprehension on an upper market level. So it does tell us to write the key in the block that's given below the staff, and then we have to indicate our chords that they tell us to indicate. And of course, we're going to use capital letters for major keys as well as major chords, and then small letters for minor keys as well as minor chords. So of course, first things first, we have to know our key, because if we say it's one version, the major, but it's actually the minor, all of our chord symbols are going to be wrong. And if we say it's the minor, but it's actually major, yet again, all of our chord symbols are going to be wrong. So let's be systematic about it. So I see we're in a key with 3 flats, and of course, when we start, I can see that we are surrounding ourselves with E, G flat, B flat. So that reminds me of tonic chord of E flat major, and I don't see any raised anythings here. If we were in C minor, we would expect to see a lot of B naturals, so a lot of raised 7ths. We don't see that here, so this is of course E flat major. So we can go ahead and figure our key with a big capital letter E flat. We put it in the little block, and then I like to do this where we go ahead and write down our chords for each of the 7 degrees of the scale in E flat major. So I will number numbers 1 to 7, and I will go E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, and then I will build my triads on top of that accordingly. Okay, so now I am equipped with identifying all of the chords in E flat major. So of course, if I want to go a step further, I can put it down that this is my tonic, supertonic, median, etc. And I can figure them all nicely, as I know these chords should be figured in a major key. And here we have it. So of course, they can ask us to identify these chords, figure these chords in root position, but also first and second inversion. So let us see. So whatever's in the bass, it doesn't mean, like it used to mean in grade 3, that is the root of our chord. So if we saw an E flat in the bass, we would automatically at grade 3 level go, oh yes, it's the tonic of E flat major. But no, if the E flat is in the bass, we can actually be on the subdominant triad, and we could actually be in second inversion. Or we could be on the sub-median triad, and we could be in first inversion. So we just need to make sure, if there is an E flat in the bass, but I see C's and G's in the chord, then I know, okay, it's actually my sub-median, and then I need to figure it as a sub-median chord, just in first inversion. So let's get on to it. So first things first, we see a chord with G, B flat, E flat. Okay, G's in the bass, but if I think about those chord notes, G, B flat, E flat, where do I find that? If I want to quickly jot it down, what I see, G, B flat, E flat, kind of think, oh, where do I see those 3 together? And then, oh yes, it's here, and the order is actually E flat, G, B flat. That's my tonic triad. If my G's in the bass, it means I'm in first inversion. So I am actually going to go ahead and figure it as a tonic triad or chord just in first inversion. Okay, so that's how we are going to go about this whole thing, this whole idea, the whole figuring system. Now we actually have a string of first inversion chords here for some reason. I don't know why, they seem to like it. It is possible when you write your own things, you might not write a string of first inversion chords and you might not harmonize in that way. But it is possible. Okay, and so our first chord here is the tonic in first inversion. Our second chord here, leading note chord. Remember, it's a diminished chord, and that's also in first inversion. We have some interesting retrograde going on here, because we find ourselves then on the sub-median chord in first inversion as well. And then we find ourselves on the dominant first inversion yet again. The last figuring of chord is in our second line. We have an A flat, we have an F, we have a C, and according to this F, A flat, C, that would be our supertonic triad. And yet again, because the A flat is in the bass, we have a supertonic triad in first inversion. Next, we have to write and name the inversion of the indicated intervals in the music example. So we're taking this again, our little comprehension, we're doing something a little bit different with it. So it says you semi-breathes and then the given clefs. Okay, and then you're going to write the intervals without key signatures. So you're not going to think, okay, if I'm going from an A flat to a G, I'm going to write down A flat major's key signature. No, we're just going to write down the 2 notes that we need to. Now remember how inversions work. Say for instance, I am in G major. I want to know what the interval is between G and A. They're just a second apart. It's a major second. I find A in G major. Nothing weird or altered there, it's a major second. If I want the inversion thereof, it's going to be the opposite firstly, so major will turn into minor, and then a second will turn into a seventh. They sort of have this thing that adds up to 9. So a second will become a seventh, a third will become a sixth, a fourth will become a fifth, and vice versa. So a major second, G to A, will become a minor seventh if I just swap it around, go from A to G. And if I think about that, that is true, because in A major I expect to find a G sharp, but if it's a G, then that is a minor seventh. So that works every time. So what I'm passing here is a G to an A flat. Great. Now remember your key signature, because we're in E flat major. So don't say that that very example there, the first one that they're giving you, is a G to an A, because then you're going to go ahead and write down an A to a G in your first answer, and then that's already going to be wrong. Okay, so we're not going to do that. This is G to A flat. So in our answer, we're going to write the inversion thereof. We're going to go A flat to G. Now already I can know that in A flat major there is a G, so that's going to be a major seventh. But if I want to work it out the opposite way also, I can say, oh yes, that's a G to an A flat. That is already a minor second. So of course when I write now my A flat to G, that's going to be a major seventh. And sort of you can double check your answers by going through this. I mean, you don't necessarily have to look at the interval that's on the paper given for you. You have to identify your own interval that you're writing. But you can double check that yours is right by checking the interval that they give you, if that makes sense. So if we go on to number 2, they do give us an A flat to a D. Great. So an A flat to a D, that's an augmented fifth. Great. So I'm actually expecting the opposite thereof. The opposite of augmented is diminished. So I'm expecting a diminished fourth, but let's see. So what I need to write down, or what we need to write down in the bass clef, is a D going to an A flat. And if I think about D major, is there an A flat in there? No. On the fourth degree, no, that definitely is a diminished fourth, so I'm good to go. Then the next interval is an F to an A flat. Great. That's now in the treble clef. We need to write this in the bass clef. So we're going from A flat to F. And in A flat major, that is merely a major sixth, so we're going to write that down. We can double check by thinking about our interval that they gave us, which is F to A flat, and of course, that is a minor third, so our interval then would be expected to be a major sixth, and it is, so we're right. Good. Our next interval, number 4, that they give us is a G going to an E flat. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to go from E flat to G, and that's a very easy one. That's definitely a major third. If you want to double check, we can think, what is G to E flat? That would be a minor sixth, so the two do complement each other, meaning we are right. Last one, we are given the interval E flat to D, which is a major seventh, so we're expecting a minor second. So we're going to write down D to E flat, and what do you know? It is a minor second, so we're going to go ahead and write down our interval distance, minor second. Yeah, you also have to be very systematic, because don't identify the interval that they give you. You have to identify the inversion thereof, so it's the interval that you're now writing. Make sure of your sharps and flats and keys and accidentals and everything, because if you miss out one of these flat notes, because we're in E flat major in the example, the music comprehension, if you miss out a B flat, an E flat, or an A flat, your whole thing is going to be wrong, because then you're going to think about a different key. For instance, our very first 4.2 question, Roman numeral 1, it's an A flat to a G, but if we were to think about it from A to G, it would be a totally different interval, and it would be a totally different, pattern of notes on the paper, so you wouldn't get your marks here. Now granted, we only have 5 little examples here, but they each count 2 marks, so this question in its own will be 10%. So be systematic and you will get your 10% here. In 4.3, we are given yet another musical example. So it says, study the music example below, and they give us some questions on it. So firstly, they say, figure the indicated chords in the music example, write the key in the given block, indicate major keys, capital letters, and then minor keys with small letters. So yet again, we're going to identify our key first. It's going to be the same as we looked before. We're going to write down our chord symbols, and we're going to write down our chord notes for each and every degree of the scale. So there's 0 sharps or flats in the key signature, leads me to believe C major or A minor. I do see a lot of raised G sharps there, so that's our raised 7th, meaning you're in the minor version of the key. So A minor, so we have a baby A in the little block. And then we're going to go ahead and write down all of our chord notes for each of the degrees of the scale. What we can go ahead and add is the chord symbols. So I can go ahead and put down my tonic, supertonic, mediant, whatnot, figuring them as they should be. This is so much fun. I really love this part of theory. The grade 4 level is one of my favorite grades. And there we go. We have that for us, so we know what we're dealing with. So yet again, they can ask us chords in root position, first inversion or second inversion. Our very first chord, they do trick us there in the left hand of the piano line, bass clef turning into a treble clef. So make sure that you read those chord notes accordingly. So this is now A, C, A with some E's. And of course, this is on the tonic degree of the scale. So we're going to go ahead and figure baby tonic there. Then we move on, we do see an A in the bass, and we do see a D and an F. Great, so D, F, A, those notes revolve itself around the sub-dominant degree of the scale. Of course, the A is in the bass, which means we are in second inversion. We're going to figure our sub-dominant triad in second inversion here. Remember, it is a baby sub-dominant because we are in a minor key, and then we have a 6/4 to indicate our second inversion. Now, UNISA also does accept the letters. So B for first inversion and C for second inversion. So if you write baby numeral 4, subdominant 4, and you write C, that would also be correct. After this, we switch back to bass clef in the second line, left-hand line. We have the tonic degree in second inversion. So write that down. Then, lastly, we have an E, G sharp, B. We definitely have our dominant chord there. It is in root position, so you can go ahead and figure that there. In question 4.3.2, they ask of us to give the technical name of each of the indicated notes. Now, of course, if we figured our key right as A minor, we would be able to know what everything is in the key. Tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, and leading note. So let's go ahead and fill those in. In question 5, we are asked to complete the melody. This is a 4-bar melody. We need to make it an 8-bar melody. So we need to add a 4-bar phrase. We need to add suitable phrasing, they tell us, as well as dynamic markings. So this is a little bit upscale from grade 3. I have made a video previously dedicating everything to melody writing before, so go ahead and check this out. We are going to have a final long note, a long tonic note at the end of our melody writing exercise. We have a direct copy of bar 1 in bar 5. We have a sequence of bar 5 in bar 6. So literally we only need to compose the second to last bar. We're going to use our dominant chord notes there. And I'm just going to sort of copy the rhythms that have come before into 4-time in this piece. I am going to use my dominant chord notes, yes, and then I'm going to use a little something of a passing note just to get up to my upper tonic. I like to go to the upper tonic here. And then relating to dynamics, we don't have to be extra crazy. I see that we are mezzo piano in the very first line, and I'm just going to move to mezzo forte in the second line. So from what I have written down, I'm going to play it. Let's see how it sounds. 1, 2. Very sweet. Our very last question in the paper asks of us to give the meaning of the following terms. So of course here they're only going to ask us grade 4 terms, but we do need to know and understand all of our terms from pre-grade 1 all the way to grade 3 in case they do come up, but also because they really inform our musical knowledge, right? So here we have various languages that they could ask of us. The first one, we have deciso, which is decisively. Then we have et vas, which is somewhat. We have appassionato, yay, an Italian term, which means passionate. We have moderere, which is moderate, and then we have dolente, which is sorrowful. And however you pronounce these terms and signs in the languages that are not your own, just be confident about it. People will believe you. But there we go. That is our grade 4 May 2023 past paper. And I hope that this does help you for your preparation of UNISA grade 4 theory of music. And remember to always play from original sheet music and to make your mark on original music sources.